2b2t's spawn, the place where every player's journey begins and most end. On the oldest server in Minecraft, spawn is everything but peaceful. It's a showcase of complete chaos that's taken place for the last 15 years. But today, I'm going to trace the evolution of 2b2t's spawn, starting from a simple patch of grass in 2010. It's December of 2010. There's no hunger bar, no enchantments, no end dimension. 2b2t is launched for the first time, and spawn is just a normal Minecraft world, filled with trees, water, and animals all around. It was a place where the original player base gathered together to build, but it didn't last for long. After all, it was an anarchy server, and soon after, the griefing began. A player by the name of Pyro claimed the damage was caused by creeper explosions, but then the lava cast started forming. Cobblestone bunkers started popping up everywhere, replacing the trees and simple world that once was. Teams began forming, and the server was on the verge of its first war. A group of players on the server known as Face Punch wanted to keep the anarchy server peaceful, but the original group founded on the platform 4chan was going to do everything in their power to keep that from happening. Eventually, on April 27th of 2011, the Face Punch War began. The Face Punch Republic began recruiting heavily, and their numbers were much higher than 4chan. Unfortunately for them, seeking peace on an anarchy server wasn't the best idea. 4chan began sending spies into the Republic to take out key bases, and spawn was getting completely taken out. At this point in the server's long history, every player spawned within a couple blocks of each other, which meant that any new player that joined just died instantly. 4chan had placed lava all around the spawn area so that no new Face Punch players could join, and there was no hope of escaping. Finally, in February of 2012, the Face Punch Republic gave up on their mission, and the last innocence of spawn would soon be gone. When players began leaving the server because they couldn't escape the spawn area, the server owner Housemaster had to step in. He decided to expand the area that the players would spawn in, and by 2012, spawn had been extended to around a 200 by 200 block area, but it didn't last long. TNT, which had been a typical item of destruction on 2B, wasn't gonna be strong enough to destroy that many blocks. They needed a new weapon of mass destruction, and in October of 2012, withers were added to Minecraft for the first time. The spawn that once was turned into a lab of destruction. Lava casts went up everywhere, and withers were spawned in to roam freely to welcome any new players that joined the server. 2b2t's spawn was no longer a place to begin one's journey, but a place to escape. A couple years later in 2016, everything changed on the server forever. A YouTuber by the name of the Camping Rusher made his first debut on the server. In total, he made over 30 videos bringing in thousands of new players to 2b2t. The queue time just to get into the server would take over 4 hours, and spawn was getting out of control. Since it was taking the veterans so much longer to get on the server, they knew they had to do something. But by this time, the spawn radius had been extended again by Housemaster to almost 1,000 by 1,000 blocks wide, making it almost impossible for the veterans to keep players from escaping. At least that's what you would think. The veteran army, and specifically its leader known as FitMC, began gathering support to create what they called the end of spawn, a massive lava wall stretching hundreds of blocks into the sky to ensure that no new players could possibly escape. This was only the first step in their plan to destroy spawn. The veteran army had patrols of players guarding all of the exits throughout spawn and made sure to place withers along any other potential escape routes. This was something that had truly never been done before, at least not to this extent, and from this point forward, spawn was no longer a place of survival, only suffering. As the Rusher army began to give up escaping spawn and the Camping Rusher was defeated by FitMC, a new phase of permanent decay at spawn began. There was no way to ever go back to the luscious trees and animals and water flowing throughout the spawn area. For over 1,000 blocks in every direction, there was nothing now except bedrock, obsidian, lava, and withers. Everything that once was only a memory. If you were a new player and you wanted to escape spawn, you are now forced to navigate through the booby-trapped highways in the Nether if you could even reach a portal without dying. And escaping without a hacked client was pretty much impossible. But now that it was a challenge, it started becoming a testing ground for survivalists around the Minecraft community. YouTubers and streamers began making videos testing their skills to see if they could escape. Tons of players tried, but only the persistent managed to make it to the other side to once again see the vast world of 2b2t. Moving on to 2017, 2b2t's spawn transformed again. The griefers of spawn had a new goal in mind: flooding the entirety of spawn. Not just the perimeter to keep people from escaping, literally thousands of blocks of flowing water. It forced players to not only die, but to have the worst death in Minecraft because of how long it would take. You wouldn't be able to just die and respawn somewhere else instantly. They began the projects, and by using hacked clients, the players were able to pour water from the tops of the obsidian rooftops and lava casts that were already made. Everything was submerged, and to this day there's still some places completely covered in water, only available for the players with respiration helmets. It also made PvP even more unfair for the new players because the players with armor would be able to swim so much faster. But with the bad, there was also some good. Builders on the server realized any builds within the water wouldn't be able to be destroyed unless they were hand mined, so they came together to begin creating some aquatic structures. Underwater bunkers, sculptures, and more were created. It was so ironic that the massive flood was supposed to take out new players, but they weren't even able to destroy these structures. Eventually, the griefers figured out a way to destroy the builds though, and as the lava returned, all the water began evaporating away. But for a short time, spawn wasn't just on fire. It was completely underwater too. Moving forward to the COVID lockdown in 2020, some players began just staying within the spawn region. It was now just a place to live. Some players built stuff that would inevitably get destroyed, some griefed, some protected the new players joining, and some were just there for the endless PvP. It became like its own biome on the server, a mixture of destruction, charity, trolling, and artwork. This community of players who lived within spawn began building massive projects, creating statues out of what was once ruins, planting trees and grass back just to destroy them all again later. It was like painting on fire with gasoline. Today's spawn is a complete wasteland, with over a decade of history in each block destroyed. From 0-0, you'll find death and destruction in every direction, but there is hope. Some players manage to escape, and some even come back to help more achieve the dream of making it out of spawn alive. In fact, I'm on a mission myself to help bring a safer spawn to 2b2t. A couple months ago, I managed to make a pretty sizable base within the spawn region, somewhere for new players to go to relax and hopefully get some food so they wouldn't starve. But don't get me wrong, spawn is still a brutal place, but it's no longer a complete death trap, and there are more and more players every day that are truly trying to help. It's become a place that reflects all the good and evil of the server throughout its history. The chaotic, cruel, creative, and unpredictable nature of the server is all around you. 2b2t's spawn isn't really the beginning of the server. It's a test and a scar for all the things that have happened in the past. But I guess that's what happens when you let a Minecraft world run wild for 14 years and never reset. With each step a new player takes, it tells the story of every player who's joined before them, every builder, every griefer, and every survivor. So if you ever decide to join 2b2t, be careful where you step, and good luck surviving the oldest anarchy server on Minecraft.